If the YouTube comment section was to be believed, then pretty much every single division in Overwatch would be considered ELO Hell, and that's because people like to throw that term around pretty loosely. Had a bad evening of Overwatch, ELO Hell. Ran into the same Hanzo main twice, ELO Hell. Saying every game has 5 levers on your team when in reality it might have been just 1 in the entire session, ELO Hell. At any rate, I'm not here trying to debunk the myth of ELO Hell. Many others have done that already, and I too gave my 2 cents on the matter. But if there's a hell, there also has to be a heaven, right? That's what I'm gonna attempt to find out today. Is there an ELO Heaven in Overwatch? And if so, what does it look like? Well, to find out what ELO Heaven looks like, we gotta start this discussion on some sort of even ground, a definition that we can all agree to. Now, people have differing opinions on what constitutes as ELO Hell, and because I can't take every single of these into consideration, we'll have to agree on a uniform definition for this discussion. So for the sake of argument, here's my definition for ELO Hell in Overwatch. A specific range of ranks that a player cannot reliably grind themselves out of due to the ever decreasing quality of matches around that ELO. Decreasing quality includes players leaving, trolling, and being toxic in a frequency that is higher than that of the matches where players are genuinely trying to win the match. Awesome, we got our reasonably generalized definition, and that's what we can start to work off of. The next step will be to assess which ranks actually constitute as ELO Hell. And that's where this is getting tricky already, particularly because players often have a false perception for where they are supposed to be ranked versus where they are right now. The idea that you're in ELO Hell because you're no longer able to quote-unquote carry is absolutely false. I do not want to get too deep into the specifics of high impact versus perceived impact because that's quite an elaborate discussion in and of itself. But to keep it short, many players do not pay attention to the input their team is doing, and by that enabling said player to make plays that they consider a carry. Like destroying a Reinhardt shield so your soldier can use his ultimate, wondering how much carrying you would have done if that far on your team didn't destroy that barrier before. Oh right, if they didn't do that, then that will make them bad players, but if they do, you're the carry. Do we see a theme occurring just yet? Alright, Overwatch is a team game. Almost forgot. Anyway, so let's say our average player in question has a reasonable amount of self-awareness and reflects on his own performance. If the performance of said player contributes in big part to their team winning, whether that be due to them being extremely mechanically skilled or just religiously taking advantage of enemy misplays, then their, in this case legitimate carry, will bring them to a rank where they are matched with players of more equal levels of skill. And this is where we're starting to creep up on our goal of finding ELO Heaven. But let's rewind for a second, because our average player is actually not so average at all. A player is not supposed to be able to do this amount of carrying in Overwatch. If they do, then they were falsely placed in a rank too low for their skill, which could be the result of them either deliberately losing matches to end up there or their matchmaking system making a genuine mistake. Our actually average player is facing way different problems. Maybe they're a silver rank player who have trouble ranking up because their team is still learning how to play properly. Or maybe they are a gold rank player where people just leave the matches constantly. Or maybe they are a platinum rank player where people always think they know best while misplaying left, right and center. This is where, by our definition, we find ELO Hell. I excluded bronze because I still don't believe that it is a legitimate rank with players that didn't intentionally lose their matches. Now, all of these division specific problems I just mentioned are purely anecdotal, things I took out of the comment section essentially, but deliberately chosen because they popped up more than others. So if we were to assume that all of the ranks from silver to platinum are part of ELO Hell, what can we do about that? Well, first off, we should put aside the label of ELO Hell altogether, because this kind of negative stigmatization starts to engrave itself into our brains, meaning we are more susceptible for getting angry over things, because no matter what happens, we have the convenient excuse of ELO Hell. And this is where we get closer to finding ELO Heaven once again. A big reason why players are so quick to throw the term ELO Hell around is because they overestimate their own skill level by a long shot. And I know that many players don't like to hear that, but the ranks silver to platinum were not created just to hold your progression to Grandmaster. They inhabit players with certain levels of skill, and if you're in it, then I'm sorry to say, but you're part of it. I know that nobody likes to associate themselves with a rank division that isn't universally considered to be good or at least slightly above average, but here are some facts. You will never be ranked more than a single division away from where you belong mid-season. That means that by the time the season's halfway gone, you being a platinum doesn't mean that you're a Masters player stuck in ELO Hell. It means that you could belong to Diamond at best. Because the simple fact of the matter is that if you do have what it takes to play in a higher ELO, then you are going to stomp on people until you're about one division away from it. Would you look at that? I did it again. It was just too tempting to debunk this old myth. But what about this ELO Heaven that I talked about? Well, ELO Heaven starts in your your own head. It starts with you appreciating the long way you have come on your ranked journey to learn and accept where you currently stand with your level of skill. And the heaven's right where you feel you're being challenged. It's this feeling of having a matchup that really makes you show what you're good at and pushes you to get even better. ELO Heaven is where you stop trying to chase a number, but you start chasing improvement. Because if you stop caring about all the things around you, whether it be the occasional troll and lever or the odd toxic guy, and you start focusing on the game and your gameplay in particular, this is where you will grow in your abilities. It isn't until you stop pointing fingers at others and start realizing how the game truly works and what actually does and doesn't help you win. And listen, I wouldn't be sitting here telling you all this philosophical bullshit if I wasn't to come with some reasoning behind it. And the reason is that I have found my personal ELO Heaven twice already. If you want the full story, then I suggest you watch my road to Masters as a support main, but to make it short, when I was starting to play Overwatch and got into Season 1, I was incredibly toxic and very easily aggravated by both my teammates and my own poor performance. And in Season 2, I found my personal ELO Heaven for the first time. It was when I realized that I just had a natural affinity for Ana and Zenyatta and stopped forcing myself to play heroes like Soldier and McCree because everyone said they are carry heroes. Because, you know, DPS heroes and all. The best heroes to carry with are those that you play the best with. I had accepted that I was a 2600 platinum player and just focused on improving my gameplay rather than improving my rating. And by that, managed to get into Diamond very quickly. That's what being improvement orientated can do for you. I knew very well that I was playing in Platinum because even with the trolls and the people thinking they know everything the best, those were the types of players that I shared a skill level with, and I wanted to be better than them. So I did, and I had a blast doing it. In Season 3, all this enthusiasm got kind of lost. Next to a meta that was depressing to deal with, all I cared about was maintaining a Masters rank for the sake of my YouTube channel. And now, I found it again, my personal ELO Heaven right during my placement matches. I duo queued with a friend of mine, as I always do, and as you should as well, and our combined rating caused us to exclusively play against Grandmaster and top 500 ranked players with the exception of a handful of 3.9k Masters. That's why I got that itch again, because it was our placements, there was no rank to chase. We knew we'd end up somewhere in the neighborhood of where we stopped anyway, and all of my focus went into the gameplay, and boy did I love it. That's not to say that every single game was a pleasant experience. We had our fair share of toxic players and also those who underperformed, maybe they just had a bad day or whatever. But in the grand scheme of things, both of us agreed after that session that we never enjoyed ranked as much as we did there. I know that it sounds easy to say for me because people think Grandmaster ranked players never misplay, so of course it will be a more pleasant experience, but honestly it's just a matter of being aware of the limitations of the rank that you play in. The only thing that made those matches better than the first time in High Platinum where I found my ELO Heaven was that I could really appreciate high levels of play, at least in relation to the latter, not actual pro play. And that too comes with downsides. In Platinum I was aware that players are being rather hesitant. I adapted my playstyle around that and also took advantage of it on the enemy team. Exploiting enemy misplays goes a massively long way in winning more matches. And during those Grandmaster games, I had to be aware of the overly aggressive playstyle around that ELO, which is not so much of an objectively good thing than something that you have to adapt to and play around. So what I'm trying to say here is, wherever it is that you are on ladder right now, turn off the part of your brain that cares about that stupid skill rating and just focus on how you play, how your team plays, and how the enemies play. Learn, adapt, and improve. That's, at least for me, the true joy of a competitive video game. But this is it here for me today, just an attempt to offer more perspective when going into ranked. If you would like to see more legitimate guide content, feel free to check out my Overwatch playlist, which you can find down in the description below. If you have trouble ranking up, I'm sure there'll be at least one video that helps you out. But anyway, I would like to thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to drop me a like on your way if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope to see you all next time.
Hey Cliff, aren't you this German guy who makes Overwatch YouTube videos?
No, just a fan account.
Just a fan account? Nice.
Ja.
Ich sehe das mal als Bestätigung.
Like, he has really good content. I know what you said, but if you just said you're turning off adblock just for him, then you're good to go.